Childhood Cancer Awareness Month this September, and we've shared with you, if you've been following, some tidbits on childhood cancers in general. I'm sure you probably saw the fact that sometimes it can take as little as 2,500 Ghana cedis and sometimes as much as 35,000. But how much of our NHIS covers this area as well? It will be part of our conversation as we speak to Dr. Tina Shandoff. She's a pediatrician with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And by the way, how many of our facilities are fully, in terms of up-to-date facilities to cater for children who suffer from cancers? We'll also be getting into this area. So, Doc, good morning. Thank you for being here. I wanted to hear, because you're coming from Kolebu, wanted to hear some of the stories that you have witnessed, what has come to your attention at Kolebu in terms of childhood cancers. Let's start from that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mama V. Thank you for having me, and greetings to all your viewers. As you know, childhood cancer, it's cancer that affects children, and it affects anybody of any socioeconomic status, of any color, of any race. And it's unpredictable. You can't tell who would have the cancer. In Kolebu, ideally, every year, we're expected to have about 300,000 cases in the whole of Ghana. But we see just 1/3 of that number, meaning that 70% are either at home or don't even know that it is probably cancer. And we have so many patients coming from different parts of the country, also outside of Ghana, because Kolebu is one of the major referral centers in West Africa. So we have cases from Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, and other countries. And most people come at the very late stages. First of all, because of not knowing that it was a cancer and probably doing other interventions apart from coming to the hospital. And most come without money because it's quite expensive. By the time they come, all their finances are exhausted and there's very little left for them to even feed on. So it becomes a very big challenge. And childhood cancer there are different types, affecting different parts of the body, from the brain to the eye, to the kidneys, to the bones. Every part of the body can be affected. And before we start the treatment, we need to investigate to make sure we know the type of cancer to give the right treatment. And the minimum for just investigating the cancer can be as little as 2,500 to 3,000 Ghana cedis.
That's investigating?
Just investigating.
I thought that's treatments.
No, because you have to do the scans to find out where the cancer is. You need to take a piece of the cancer to the lab for them to find out the particular cancer that it is. You also need to do other labs, make sure your kidney is fine, your liver is fine, because the medications we are given are very powerful medications, and we need to make sure everything is fine. If there's a problem, we adjust the doses. So just for investigation, it can cost as much as 2,500. And how many of us can afford that kind of money just for investigation before the treatment? And unfortunately, most parents cannot afford that, and we tend to rely on donors, rely on philanthropists.
Doesn't the NHIS cover this?
So unfortunately, it doesn't cover. It doesn't cover childhood cancers, no, at all.
Not even the investigation?
Not even the investigations. Unlike adult cancers like breast cancers, prostate cancers, cervical cancers, which are covered by the NHIS, children have been, unfortunately, overlooked, and they are not on the insurance. However, some of the medications that we give for childhood cancers are similar to those that we give in adulthood cancers. So it becomes, and even the doses are quite smaller based on the weight of the children. So it's very, very important that we prioritize them, because they are future, and we need to make sure that childhood cancers are put on the National Health Insurance Scheme so that many parents and many children can survive and live their fulfilling lives. And childhood cancer, unlike adulthood cancer, which is due to risk factors, maybe smoking, drinking, it's usually due to a genetic makeup of the child being born with that defect. But fortunately, God willing, childhood cancers are curable. And that's
totally.
Totally curable if you come early. But unfortunately, most of the population don't know that once they hear cancer, it's like a death sentence. But it's not like the adulthood cancers. It's different. It's curable. And it's sad seeing many patients come in with very curable cancers, either coming in late or coming in with no money to even do the investigations. And it saddens you, it breaks your heart because you know you can cure this. So we really need it on the NHIS to help the parents and the children.
How early can a child get cancer?
So usually cancer is an abnormal growth of your cells, whichever part of the body it is. And with children, unlike adults where there are risk factors, maybe smoking, drinking, and all that, with children, they are born with it. So the cancer has already started whilst we're born. However, the expression may take time. But you can have young children as the first week of life. A mother will notice there is a dot in the child's eye, but maybe think that it's nothing. But that is the start of a cancer. And when you pick it at that age, we've seen very lovely, beautiful children. We are able to pick it early. There was a mother who had a child with a dot in the eye. She thought it was normal. She never paid attention to it. And by the time she finally came, it was very, very late. So we couldn't save the child. But God willing.
What was she thinking initially, and what did people say to her was wrong?
So initially she didn't bother because there was no pain. There was nothing wrong with the child. So this is
just a dot, you say?
Just a whitish spot in the eye.
Okay.
Yes. So once you see this, it's something that should alert you to see a doctor so the child can be saved. Because by the time, by the end of the time, you realize that the child will end up with a swollen eye, and then it's very difficult to save. Fortunately, this mother had another child after the first one. And this time she noticed it early and came to the hospital. And this child is alive, going to school, living his fruitful life. So it's very treatable, it's very curable, but we need to advocate for early presentation and then to help the parents to include it in the National Health Insurance Scheme so that doesn't deter them from coming to the hospital.
Absolutely. So apart from the eye, the dots, is there anything else that can show that will tell you the parent something?
Yes, so there are various signs and symptoms for cancer, but they sometimes mimic other diseases. So it's very difficult to pick them up. But there are certain things you should look out for. So we have an acronym, the SIL1, with S are symptoms that are persisting. Maybe a temperature for more than 2 weeks that has not responded to antibiotics or anti-malarials, you know that you should bring to the hospital.
Okay.
Or persistent headache for more than 2 weeks, persistent vomiting, persistent bone pain, you should bring to the hospital. And for the eye, is the eye symptoms. If the child has a whitish spot, or if the child has a squint, when he is looking, one eye is looking one way, the other is looking the other way. Or if the child has bulging eyes, but that is very, very late. Then for the L, any lump from the head of your, from the crown of your head to the sole of your foot, any lump that you find that is abnormal, bring to the hospital. You unexplained symptoms, maybe a persistent fever or unexplained weight loss, unexplained sweating, abnormal sweating, you should bring to the hospital. Or if they have aches and pains, which are persistent, bring to the hospital. Or if they have neurological signs like headaches or change in handwriting or change in the way they are walking.
Change in handwriting?
Yeah, even change in handwriting, which is very subtle. If you don't really look at your child's handwriting or check, you might not pick it up. But that's one of the signs you can tell that this child may have, for example, a brain cancer or change in the way they walk or persistent headaches or vomiting, early morning vomiting. Then you know that you need to bring the child to the hospital as soon as possible.
Let me bring in Dr. Laurentia Owusu-Osei-Tutu, who is an oncologist, also at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. Okay, all right. So that's a nurse who is also in this area, obviously oncology. Good morning to you. Thank you for your time on the show. There you are. Good to see you.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. So, we're just trying to understand some of the stories that come to you. You're also really close in this area. we've heard about the symptoms, and I'm thinking that it might be really difficult in a child, since that if it's a child that cannot express him or herself, how can the parent be convinced that I need a second opinion? Because not every facility has the right equipment to even do the initial investigations. Am I right?
Yes, you are right. But every mother has some instincts, and the maternal instinct should tell you that whatever we are caring, for a particular time, a mother should be convinced that things are not right with me. If the facility who is taking care of you is not referring, every mother has the right to ask for referral. Sometimes a mother may be prompt, take the child to hospital, has been going for treatment, but then the symptoms keep coming. You have the right to ask for referral to seek further management in a bigger facility like Olebu or any other hospital.
Okay. And I understand, Dr. Shandov, you can help me out, because I understand that the facilities that are well equipped, Kolebu and Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about, we've looked at the signs, what can prompt a parent, to get their child checked. We've talked about the cost. I want us to spend a bit of time there. So what happens if you go to the hospital, say you've done your initial check, you've seen a specialist, and now you've been told that your child has a certain type of cancer. What do you do? What else do you do?
Okay, so usually with the diagnosis of cancer, it's very detrimental to the family and to the child. So we have meetings, we have counseling sessions with the parents to explain to them that, well, this is a cancer, but this is curable, and this is what we are going to do. Okay, so usually it starts with a counseling session for the parents and the family to put them at ease and explain the details of the cancer. So once we are able to diagnose the cancer, we need to start treatment as soon as possible. Okay, the treatment can vary. For some cancers, we need to do surgery with medications, that the chemotherapy, and with some, we need to add radiotherapy. So some cancers, the shortest duration for treatment may be 6 months. Others too, we can go as long as 2 to 3 years for the cancers of the blood. So it all depends on the treatment. But during those periods, usually the child doesn't spend all the 6 months or all the 2 years in the hospital. So we start the initial treatment. Child gets better after some time, and then if the parents live around, then they can be coming for their treatments. Some of the treatments are weekly, some are 2 weekly, some are monthly. So the parents need to be around the hospital vicinity, just in case of any emergency, they can come in. However, those who come from far, from other regions outside of Accra or other countries outside Ghana, we usually encourage them, we let them live at the mother's hostel, where they receive their treatments from there. But however, during that period, it means that the parent can't work. The parent needs to take care of the child.
Can take care of other children.
And can take care of other children at home. So it's a vicious cycle. And the money that they don't have, they can't even raise more to take care of the current child and those at home. So it becomes a burden onto them. We have a beading class where we help them to learn a trade like beading, beads, so that they could sell and make some money out of it, and also occupy themselves and emotionally relieve their worries as well. So that is the basic thing we do. But the treatment depends on the type of cancer, and the minimum duration is like 6 months, and then the maximum is up to like 3 years.
To treat?
To treat.
Okay. I want to come to you, Madam Laurentia Wusu Osei-Tutu, who's joining us via Zoom on this conversation. Tell about some of the stories that and I'm sure that you have more mothers coming than men.
Yes.
Okay. What are some of the things that they share? What are some of the challenges, their difficulties that they tell you?
Some of the mothers have a lot of difficulties, financial constraints and all that. Because most of them, by the time they get to Kolebu, they might have gone to other hospitals, spent a lot on their child. So they might have wasted a lot of resources. So they come in and they have no money at all, especially if for the investigation. And our investigations are quite expensive. The MRIs, the scans, the various labs. So it becomes very difficult for them. Some might have even gone to the prayer camps and all that. Their monies get finished before they are being told to go to Kolebu.
Yeah. So do you have experiences where some people come and they can't afford, so they simply, even though the child is really sick, they just have to take them away?
Yes, some cannot afford anything at all. And even though there are times there is support, some mothers feel reluctant to ask because they feel shy and all that. Like, we are human beings. Some people still have their egos and all that, if even they don't have money. So it becomes difficult assessing. Some of these parents, if they think they cannot afford the things are expensive, they may go, and some even abscond, like they run away from the hospital because of the cost. Some may go and will not even come back.
And leave their children?
No, sometimes they go with their children. We've heard about few instances that some left their children with us. And then we had to call in, and then that the particular parents who brought their children never came. They had other relatives came in for them. And with this, you know already that they don't have money. So the cost and everything is on the ward. So we have to depend on the few resources other people have helped us with.
I'll come back to you.
So the issue of national health insurance come in again, that we beg the government and other stakeholders that they put their children's cancer treatment on the insurance, because the producers are on insurance, but the product is not on insurance. Like the female reproductive and the male reproductive cancers are on insurance, but the outcome, which is the child, is not on insurance, and it's quite dicey. We really need to be on insurance as well.
I'll come back to you with the kind of support, because I know that Dr. Chandop, this is not, if you're treating cancer, it's not just one specialist. You need quite a number of, so I'll come back so that you can explain. But let's stay on the issue with affordability and costs and the fact that the NHIS doesn't cover it. You've explained that sometimes just the investigations could cost like 2,500. It could even cost a lot more depending on the type of cancer that is discovered in the child. There's the issue of some parents leaving their children.
Yes.
I'm worried about parents leaving and not even returning again. What happens to such children? Is there a follow-up? I mean, I know that there's a lot that you want to do, but you also be constrained in the way. But what happens after that?
Yeah. So it's common. Sometimes it's very understandable because parents feel they are not able to work to take care of their children. So most of them, I mean, the excuse is they want to go and work, get some money before coming, but then they leave the children with us with no money, no food. So most of the time, we take care, our social welfare takes care of the children and then takes care of the treatment. But then this child needs to go back to a home. So we usually call the numbers that we have to try and get any relative that's around. But most of the time, it might seem unreasonable, but if you understand them and the challenges they are going through, you would bear with them. Because we do not go blaming them, we just try and find out the reason why they left the child and try and help them as well. So it's a dicey situation to be in, but we try as much as possible to still take care of the children whilst they are there and then look for the parents or any other relative available.
I guess, first of all, knowing that you have a child that is even sick in the first place, you would deal with yourself in the way you probably be asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Yeah. Why is it that my child is unwell even from the very beginning? So I guess there are some psychological things that, say a mother will be going through. Yeah. And then you realize that it will also cost you a lot of money that you don't have to treat that child. So you'll be thinking, okay, why don't I just leave the child in the hospital? After all, they won't have a choice than to take care of the child.
And there's a lot of stigma and religious beliefs around cancer. I mean, a lot of pastors will say maybe your child is cursed or your family is cursed or you have done this or you have done that. So all that also has an impact on the patient, the parents staying. So we try as much as possible to counsel early and to let them understand that this is not spiritual. This is not a fault of yours or your husband or your mother or your grandmother somewhere. It's something that happens, and it happens to African children, it happens to Asian children, it happens to American children. Any child can get it. So we try as early as possible to disabuse them of the fact that, oh, it's spiritual. A pastor has told me to leave the child, that the child is a curse, and all those things. So we try as much as possible to disabuse them of that. But the money is the major issue.
So let me just activate the phone lines so we can have people join us. If you've got questions or comments, kindly give us a call on 0302-211-6910. 0302-211-6910. What would it mean if the NHIS covered this area?
It will bring a big relief to the parents, and then it will help the children to get treatment faster. And once parents know that, oh, this is on insurance, to present earlier to the hospital. Like, for example, malaria. Most people know that malaria drugs are on insurance. So when the child has a fever, mother has insurance, they rush to the hospital. There's no delay, much delay. But with the cancers, once the mother starts suspecting or she's been told from peripheral hospital, then she starts folding her arms because she knows that, no, this is going to cost me a fortune. But if it's on the NHIS, these children can be cured of their cancers, can live productive life, and this will relieve the parents of the burden because it's quite expensive, and it's not everybody who can afford. Even those who can afford, they get to a time where they are economically fatigued. So putting it on the NHIS is very, very important. And as Laurentia said, the producers are on the insurance, and we need just a little volume of the medications they're also using to treat the children. So we need to let the children also be on the insurance.
Okay. Let's go to Laurentia on Zoom, and let's talk about the kind of support that you also bring in terms of your expertise for a child with cancer. But before you start answering that, let's go to the phone lines and speak to Ahmed. Ahmed is in Aflao. Good morning, Ahmed.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. I would say it's very pathetic and it's very serious what we're going through. Myself, I'm a leukemia patient, and I'm going through a lot, and I've seen exactly what the nurses want. I think the other lady on Skype or Zoom, you said
on Zoom.
The doctor. Yeah. Sometimes, trust me, you see things you couldn't imagine. And I normally visit the daycare hematologist under the one at Central Lab.
Okay.
And they bring these children for what they call the bone marrow. My sister, sometimes I shed tears. And what the cost of treatment is something we really, really can't bear. I'm ALL, leukemia ALL. That's what I'm going through. And the kids they bring normally for bone marrow. I don't know, but I think within the southern zone it's only in daycare that they do the bone marrow transplant to determine what kind of cancer the kids have and the kind of pain and trauma they go through. It's not easy. Not talk about the cost involved. So the government can really, really do something. If we the adults can be off, it's fine, but if they could at least help the kids, put them on the NHIS, I think it will help a lot. It will really, really help a lot. Well, because the cost of treatment is really, really, really expensive.
Well,
the whole thing, I think, is about the cost now.
Yeah, absolutely.
The sickness has already, the kids are already infected. They've already been diagnosed. So if there is a way government or anybody could help reduce the cost of treatment for the kids, I know it will help.
Well,
some of the adults can't even bear the cost, but we adults, at least, we could go through the trauma a little bit. But the kids, we're talking about the whole family involved. So the government can do something. If we adults can come on to, we'll be happy. But I will really appreciate and beg if anybody can help do something with the kids. It will really help because
Sure.
I've seen it and I've shed tears for kids.
Ahmed, thank you very much for adding your voice to this. It's really important coming from a place of experience that you share with us. Let's talk to Selina. Selina is in Cape Coast. Good morning, Selina.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Let's hear you.
Okay. Please, I want to ask a question. I want to ask Doctor something. Please, my sister had a bone of cancer of the bone and then delivered with it. I don't know if there is the tendency of the child being infected.
Doc, did you understand the question?
Selena,
please come again.
My sister had a bone, cancer of the bone.
Okay.
And then she delivered.
Okay. She delivered.
Okay.
She delivered. So I want to ask, is there the tendency of the child being infected with it?
Okay. All right. Great question, Selena. She'll get you the answer. But let's stay in Cape Coast. We've got Jane joining us. Good morning, Jane.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, Jane. Thanks for calling me on air. Let's hear you.
All right. My name is Jane, and unfortunately, I lost my daughter to Wilms tumor on the 2nd of July.
We're so sorry to hear that.
Yes, of 2020, yes, this year. And I would want to add my voice to the call on government to, if not take the whole cost of treatment, at least subsidize it for mothers, for parents whose children are battling cancer. It is very expensive for the diagnosis and then the treatment. So most mothers, the moment they hear that, take your child to Kolebu or Komfanochi, they stay home with their children because they cannot afford treatment. I'm also pleading with the government to try as much as possible and set up pediatric onco units in all of the teaching hospitals, because I've met parents who travel from as far back as Elubo, that is the western border region, coming to Kolebu for treatment for their children. And if you've had to put your child in a public transport, battling this condition, all the way from western region, central region, to Accra for treatment, that alone is a deterrent for mothers or for parents who don't have the resources. So I, as a mother who lost a child less than 3 months ago, I'm adding my voice to this call, and I'm also calling on parents to bring their child as early as possible. If you don't have money, take the child. I know that Kolebu have systems that in some way they are supporting children. Those in Western and Central region too, by God's grace, we started something small at Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. You can bring them in, we take care of them. If we cannot afford, we'll put it out there, then people will help. Childhood cancer is real.
Well,
it is not rare. It's very real. And in Ghana, as the doctor was saying, 1,300 kids are expected to be diagnosed with cancer, but only 300 of them present to the hospital. So where are the 1,000 children? Why are the other 1,000? It means that they are dying.
Well, Jane, I see that you are into advocacy, obviously,
yes,
after the experience. Can you leave your number with my producer so we can get in touch and carry this conversation? Yes, so thank you really for reaching out. Not to remind you of your painful experience, but, you know, you've come out to share your personal experience, and we absolutely appreciate it. Ethel is in Begro. Good morning, Ethel.
Good morning.
Yes, Ethel, thank you for calling.
My own is to find out if I can get support for a child. Just recently, when we were going for the vaccination exercise, we saw a child with a very big head. I don't know whether it's hydrocephalus or what. I'm not quite sure. Maybe the doctor can help me out. But I wish we can support that child. That's why I'm calling you. If I can link up, I'll be able to support that child.
Okay, so where did you spot this child?
It's in one of our remote villages. I'm calling from Fantiapa North District.
Okay.
And the capital is Begro.
Okay. How old is this child?
7 months.
7 months. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ethel, we'll take your contacts as well. Okay. So just hold on and speak to my producer. Can we address Selina's issue?
Yes. Yes. So thank you, Selina, for your question. It's a very important question. So yes, some cancers are genetic. But however, it doesn't mean that maybe you had bone cancer, so the child would necessarily have bone cancer. It may be another type of cancer. And it also doesn't necessarily mean that once you've had a cancer, it's automatic that your children will get cancer. Because we've had patients who have fought cancer, have given birth to children, and they are absolutely normal. So with an experience of cancer, the best thing is to make sure your child is screened for any type of cancer. Okay, so some are genetic, some like eye cancer. So if you've had a child with an eye cancer, you need to make sure that you screen any other child that you get. Or if you've had breast cancer before, the cancer gene is possible to be in the family. So you need to screen the children for any other cancers.
Okay.
But once you've had a cancer, I want to stress that fact that it's not automatic that, or once you've had a cancer, all your children will have cancer. You may have a cancer, but all your children may be normal. And you may have a cancer and the children may have cancer.
How early should you do the screening?
As soon as you give birth, try and do the screening. Try and let the child be fully examined by the doctor. And if you see any of any signs that you're suspicious of, come as soon as possible.
Okay.
For the child to be screened.
So Selena is in Cape Coast. Can she do it in Cape Coast?
Yes, so she can do it in Cape Coast. We have we are establishing an oncology team there.
Okay.
Yeah, they are also taking care of children. So she can go straight away to Cape Coast to have the child examined.
Okay. Let's speak to Lukman. Good morning, Lukman.
Good morning, please. I'm calling from Kumbungu district in the northern region.
Okay, great.
I want to find out from Dr. and see, we the community nurses and the nurses that goes on outrages, should in case we meet such cases, what do we do? And what do we tell the mothers? And where do they seek help?
Okay. Well, that's a very good question, Lukman. It's similar to what Ethel also observed. Yes.
Yes. So it's very important that the community nurses who are within the community pick up these signs and symptoms, because they are the ones that will help us to be able to pick them up from the community. So first of all, when you pick them up, disabuse them of the thoughts that this is spiritual or this is their fault, and then refer them appropriately to either Kolibu, Konfanoche, or Cape Coast, whichever one is close
the problem,
to them.
Yes. That's the issue.
Once they hear that it's Kolibu or Konfanoche, it's like, hey, no, then my child is going to die.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily so, because if you come early, most people, because of the fear of the big hospital, they stay and do other things, herbals and spiritual things. And by the time they come, it's very, very late. So we are really entreating the public health nurses to go on the advocacy and educate them of the early signs. And once they see, please refer them and reassure them that once it's early, childhood cancer is curable and the child will live a normal life to his 70 or 80 years that God has given that child.
Let me bounce this off, Laurentia, so that you can speak to your colleagues in the other regions who are asking lots of questions. What would you tell them?
Please, can I get the question again?
Oh, I was asking what you would say to your colleagues in the other regions who don't have the resources like you do at Kolibu or Konfanoche or even Cape Coast. How can they support families like that?
The support we get from at Kolibu is from some individuals and some organizations. Like ICGC is supporting us, WCC supports us, some other churches, Emmanuel Methodist, some churches.
Okay.
So we advocate that individuals who are well-to-do should come in and help, because there's nothing much we can do as health workers, especially if somebody comes and the cost. It may take a whole year's salary to treat one person, and it will be really difficult if I have to use my salary. So we just have to depend on others, like NGOs, organizations, and well-to-do individuals. So we are just calling on everybody that the fight is not for us alone. Everybody should come on board. Let's fight for these heroes, because they do go through a lot to stand the fight. So all we can do to help them is to give in our financial resources. The parents are giving their time, nurses and doctors are giving knowledge, and skills. And the children are also fighting with their strength. All that is needed is the finances, governments, individuals, and others who can help.
Yeah.
Please come in and help us.
So, Laurentia, let me ask you a personal question. What's your specific expertise, and how do you help a child with cancer recover?
My skills, personally, I have a very good sense of humor.
Okay.
Sometimes some parents just need to smile. And yesterday or 3 days ago at work, I managed to make a child smile. I wish I could show the picture here. This child came in a severe distress. We've done all we can just to see him smile. And it was so nice, and it was overwhelming to get this child smile. And it was something else. To see a child who has gone through a lot smile through the pain that he has been going through. I wish I could share this all after that. I may share the picture with the producer.
Okay.
And
yes.
sometimes too, some of them, by virtue of the fact that you are able to talk to them, they're able to tell you something personal about themselves, which goes a long way to help in their treatment, because they may not feel comfortable going to talk to a doctor for money. But then if they're able to help you. The other times too, I personally go and get provisions for some of them.
Okay.
I support some of them with my private insurance card. If there's some drugs that I needed to purchase, probably I purchased it and I didn't use it again, I give it out.
Okay. Okay.
At times I personally buy drugs for them. So do other health workers do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Laurentia, we thank you for sharing, and I'll just let you go so you can send that picture to my producer. We really want to see. But God bless you for what you do, and your colleagues as well. Dr. Shandov, how important, in fact, how much funding do you even have? Because for now you have to rely solely on what the donations of others. How far does it go?
So it's challenging. I mean, there's as much as everybody can do. People come and donate. I mean, as organizations, non-governmental organizations, private institutions come, but they can't help everybody. Some help one child at a time. Some help with the nutrition, because they need to be well nourished for these medications. Some help with medications. Some help with other aspects of the treatment. But I entreat all of us as much as possible to get on board, because this is our future.
Absolutely.
And the children, we don't know who the next president is among them, and we need to protect our future. And as much as the people think that cancer is contagious, it is not contagious. When you come into contact with the children, you are not going to get cancer. Childhood cancer is not contagious, but your love and your care for them is. So it's important that we all put our hands on deck. And I really plead with the government to help us relieve the burden on the parents and the children who are fighting very, very, very hard by trying to put the childhood cancers on the insurance, because it's very disheartening to see a child die of something that is so curable.
Yeah. Well, we're going to join in the advocacy. Fortunately, we have Jane's number. Jane called from Cape Coast with a personal story to share. So we're going to be following up, and we will continue to speak so that this covers. I mean, you never know who would need help.
Yes.
You and I are sitting here today. We're thinking we can afford, but wait until it happens to you, and then you realize where the real need is. So thank you for your time, for sharing with us, and thank you for the work that you also do in the facility. Well. There's a number that you leave with us so people can get in contact with you. So we'll share that number with you. Two things we are sharing from Kolebu: the picture that Laurentia promised us of the child that finally got him or her to smile, and then the number to Kolebu so that you can also get support if there are questions that you want to ask following this conversation.